Good afternoon, I'm meteorologist Bailey Braun, and I'll be taking you through the storm impacts that we're expecting heading into this weekend. Now, this storm is an ex-typhoon, Halong, and it's expected to make landfall into western Alaska overnight tonight, so I'll be taking you through those impacts and what we can expect. So just jumping into our weather headlines, these roads may be impassable. This is going to be caused from flooding as well as road erosion, so you might need to take your boats out, but travel is very much not advised during this time, especially for tomorrow and mostly for tomorrow morning. Now, some of these higher wind gusts are expected up to 100 miles per hour, and this is in Hooper Bay, and gusts up to 90 are also expected for St. Paul. Now, this storm could cause record-breaking flooding as well as other record-breaking impacts. So we'll be taking you through this, but I just wanted to show you the upper level because on the left side you'll notice that blue circle moving up along the western coast of Alaska. That's that storm, and I just wanted you to see how fast it's moving in just a span of 24 hours. It shifts all the way from the Aleutians up into the North Slope, and this is around 12 hours of movement. So it's moving very quickly, and it's a very impactful storm. So it's very important to stay aware of this and important to know just how devastating this storm could be. Now, we're already seeing just all of these warnings that are put into place with the storm. That includes the winter weather, winter storm warning, bringing in lots of snow into the Brooks Range, as well as a storm warning in general, the hurricane force wind warning that we're seeing, as well as the high wind warning along those more western interior towns. So looking at this track of the typhoon, we're already seeing it move past the Aleutians overnight, and what we just saw this afternoon. You're going to notice that by Bethel, we're seeing wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour, even faster just by tomorrow morning, but then the center of that system moves into Nome by tomorrow morning around 8 a.m. And then as we progress, you're going to notice that even though the center shifts up past the Seward Peninsula, even into the afternoon, we're still seeing a lot of that moisture stick around. So that's going to begin to move up into the North Slope near Keokvik by Sunday night, and that's why we're seeing so much of the winter effects moving into the Brooks Range and just along the interior up into the North Slope. So as we progress and move on through, I wanted to show you the coastal flood watches. Now, this is one of the most important things that I need you to know if you live on the western coast. So these are the water levels that we're expecting to see. 3 to 7 feet in Kotzebue. We're seeing 7 to 12 feet in Unalakleet, and these numbers are basically the sea level past the high tide. So we're already seeing that high tide, but just add 7 to 12 feet on top of that high tide. That's going to go into homes if you're on the waterfront. This is definitely something you cannot survive if you live on the waterfront. So if you have a home on the waterfront and you're staying inside, you need to find shelter because the storm surge is the most dangerous part of a storm. This is what causes fatalities in hurricanes, and this is what causes the most destruction whenever you see storms and hurricanes. So it's very important to take this serious because 6 to 13 feet and 7 to 12 feet, that is incredibly significant. I mean, think about how tall you are and then just measure how high that water level is going to be past you. So this is very important to know. We've already seen a lot of flooding impacts just from Kotzebue and some of those other areas that we're seeing just from a few days ago where this washed out, yards, this washed out parts of homes. So if that was bad, just imagine how bad this is going to be when you incorporate a storm surge with even more feet of flooding added on top of that. So you need to make sure that right now you're taking those proper precautions and doing what you can to stay safe. So like I said, if you are staying in your home and trying to just barricade and hunker down for the storm happening overnight into tomorrow morning, I strongly advise against that and try to seek shelter where you can. I know that a lot of schools are open for shelter, so just try to reach out to try to find your community posts in Facebook and just really try to find those shelters. I know that we're also trying to add a list of shelters that you can find for your areas in our live blog that we have for the storm. So check back with that in about an hour or so, and we'll tell you where you can go to seek shelter. So another really strong impact from the storm is the wind gusts, and the wind gusts are also a reason why we're seeing that storm surge, because the wind is what causes that ocean front to really just to surge onto land and into homes and communities. So these wind gusts are just from tonight. You're seeing 67 mile per hour winds in Cold Bay, and then we're seeing even higher wind gusts expected for tomorrow. So overnight we're already seeing those wind gusts up to 60 in Kipnuk, and then we're going to see the 70s. I don't know if you saw that, but a second ago it just flashed 70 for Hooper Bay, and like I had mentioned, you're going to see wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour and even up to 100 miles per hour. So as the storm starts to shift up north, you're going to see even heavier wind gusts ranging from 40 to 60 miles per hour, and then going from 60 to 80 miles per hour, and even stronger in some of those other areas. So it's a very strong storm, and these wind gusts are really dangerous. It causes that debris to fly, it causes home damage, and some of these winds are actually the same force as Category 1 hurricane winds. So you should try to treat this storm as a hurricane, because it's pretty much doing the same kind of devastation. But even some of these wave heights that we're expecting to see are up to 25 to 30 feet of sea waves. So that's pretty impactful, that's very significant, and also very, very dangerous. So this expected rainfall that we're going to see moving into tomorrow, we're expecting to see about an inch of rain in Nome and then some other areas, but the Seward Peninsula, the southern portion of the Seward Peninsula, spanning all the way down the coastline of the Yukon Delta, are going to be the areas most significantly impacted. So it's very important to take this serious. And I know that an inch of rain really doesn't sound like a lot, but then when you add in factors such as the wind gusts and that storm surge, that's why you're seeing so much flooding. So it's already very devastating. We've already seen the flooding that happened just a few days ago, and added on top of what we're expecting this weekend and moving into tomorrow, it just adds to the risk. So be sure to download our weather app. This is where we're going to be posting updates, as well as where you can share your photos and your experiences. So if you're able to safely capture any videos or photos of this storm, please do so. We would love to share your stories and what you experience from the storm. So please reach out if you have any photos or videos or would like to share what's happening in your community. Now, with our statewide forecast, during the newscast I wasn't really able to talk about what's happening in other areas of the state, but I'll try to share that with you now. But across the state we're seeing some rain starting to move on into south central, up the Alaska Peninsula, moving into south central. We're also expecting some of that rain to start to shift into the interior as the storm begins to move north. Then you're going to notice some snowy mixes moving in from the interior up into the north slope, more specifically into the Brooks Range. Now for southeast Alaska, we're expecting partly to mostly sunny conditions, and those temperatures sitting close to 50 in the high 40s or the low 50s, but that's pretty much across the region except for Yakutat, where we're going to see some light afternoon showers moving on through with wind gusts up to 20 miles per hour, but across the state, or across the region in southeast, mostly expecting sunshine and dry conditions. Now, for the interior, we're seeing temperatures in the 40s, and you're already seeing those wind gusts start to move in. The interior has some high wind warnings in effect from the storm that's rolling on through, so expect high winds, and then also you're going to see some light precipitation moving on in, so that includes Fairbanks, and Yukon, or Fort Yukon is also expecting to see a little bit of snow moving on through, and that's from that wintry mix provided from that storm that we're going to be seeing. But the North Slope is another area that will be seeing the impacts of the storm. You saw that the storm kind of starts to taper off and move across out from Utqiagvik, so we're going to see those impacts moving in tomorrow afternoon mostly, but those wind gusts still staying fairly mild compared to what the western coast is going to see. But Anaktuvik Pass is going to get pretty windy and pretty gusty. Lows in below freezing, so you're going to see some snow begin to stick. We're expecting about a trace to an inch of snow moving on through into those higher elevation regions, and more specifically in the Brooks Range. Now for western Alaska, of course, as I mentioned, those wind gusts are one of the biggest impacts from the storm, as well as the heavy rain and the storm surge. So be sure to be aware, seek shelter, do everything that you can to stay safe, seek higher ground especially as well. I know that a lot of people in areas like Kotzebue, where we've already seen quite a bit of flooding, you know, they're moving their equipment and what they can into higher ground. So yeah, just please, if you're in these areas, please stay safe. These wind gusts are very strong and the storm surges are very powerful. So it's very important to stay safe and take action in times like these. Yeah, so please do that. Please stay safe. But the Aleutians already saw some of the impacts today from the storm, it wasn't incredibly significant through the Aleutians, but you're still going to see more of that storm rolling in overnight and going into Sunday morning very early on, with gusts up to 90 in St. Paul, and then more rain is going to continue through areas like Cold Bay, Dillingham, areas along the Alaska Peninsula more specifically, but more of the islands out west are going to see some wind gusts lasting, but slightly drier conditions, but mostly cloudy skies. Now for South Central, we're expecting very similar conditions across the entire region, so we're going to be seeing that rain spanning all across South Central, most of that rain hitting into the Kenai Peninsula, with temperatures sitting in the 50s for the most part, but lows not quite reaching freezing yet, so we're going to continue to see more rain moving on through in the Copper River Basin. We'll also see that rain with some winds up to 15 miles per hour, but temperatures staying in the 40s in the Copper River Basin, and Matsu and Anchorage as well are going to see about 1/4 inch of rain for tomorrow. Not super windy, relatively calm winds, but some of those higher wind gusts are going to be between 10 to 15 miles per hour, but temperatures staying pretty mild, near 50 degrees, and that's what Anchorage is also expecting to see. So for our Anchorage 7-day, we're going to see a little bit more of that moisture begin to roll on in tomorrow, and that is from that storm. We're getting some of the outskirts of that storm moving through South Central and through Anchorage as well. So expect some rain for Sunday across the South Central region. Really the only area that is not expecting any rain statewide is pretty much southeast. So we're seeing those temperatures still staying relatively normal, near 50, and then Fairbanks, you're going to get some wintry mixes tomorrow with mixture of snow and some rain as well, but temperatures staying in the 40s. So again, as I mentioned, if you're in Western Alaska, please stay safe. Please do what you can. If you haven't taken action, you need to do that right now, because this storm is going to roll in around 2 to 4 a.m. depending on where you're located. And as I had mentioned, the most deadly impacts and the most dangerous impacts that we're going to be seeing are in the southern portion of the Seward Peninsula, spanning all the way down through the Yukon Delta. So you need to be aware of that coastline. If you're in the coastline, you're in those waterfront areas, that's where it becomes pretty dangerous, so be sure to seek shelter. And as I mentioned, check our website. We're going to have a blog updated as much as we can, and if you are having, or if you're seeing some pretty serious impacts, we would love to hear what you have to say in your reports on that, because that's the whole reason why we're here, is to hear from you and to be able to report on what people are seeing. So please stay safe, do what you can, seek shelter, be prepared. So stay safe, and I will update you with more tomorrow, and I hope that everyone has a great night and stay safe.